So welcome to the last session in the control statements or control structures chapter topic. Switch statement. Switch statement. It is a conditional statement. It is a conditional statement similar to the if. Now, if is available, why do you need this switch statement? Why do you need switch statement? What is the advantage of it? What is the advantage of it? So switch is basically useful whenever you have multiple choices. Multiple choices. So you can implement multiple choices using what is called as if else ladder, if else ladder, if else if else if else if else if etc. But that is little confusing, cumbersome. So this simplifies it. Switch statement simplifies it, and whenever you have multiple choices to be made, and if you want to select one of the choices or maybe sometimes one or two choices also, you can use the switch statement. You can use the switch statement. So the general format is like this. General format is like this: switch expression, case constant expression statement 1, case constant expression statement 2, default statement n. Where the evaluation of the expression, if you consider this expression, should result in an integer value. Integer value. That means when here it can be an expression, it can be an integer, but if it is an expression, like say x plus 1 or y star 2 etc., it should result in an integer value. Floating point values are not permitted. Strings are not permitted. Characters can be used because they are treated as integers in case of C language, but we don't consider that point here. But the valuation of the expression should result in an integer value, and also case statements are there. All these constant expressions should result in an integer value. They should be integers actually. They should be integers. That's why constant expressions. Here it is expression which should result in an integer value. Here it is constant expression. That means it is an integer. And it works like this: the expression is evaluated and the value of this expression is compared with this constant expression 1, expression 2 etc. If they match, the corresponding statements are executed. It is little tricky actually. What happens after executing this one, whether it executes this statement or not. So it is little tricky, and you can implement it as you like. We'll see with the programming example, but you can implement as you like. So if the value of this expression matches with any of the constant expressions, that corresponding statement is executed. That point you remember now. But that will not be that straightforward. Okay, if the value of the expression is matches with one of these constant expressions, the corresponding statements are executed. If the value of the expression doesn't match with any of these constant expressions, then there will be what is called as default, and there will be statements associated with the default. Those statements will be executed. Okay, that's how the switch statement works. The expression is evaluated. If the value of the expression matches with any constant expression, then the corresponding statements are executed. If the value of the expression doesn't match with any of the constant expressions, then the default statement will be executed, or the statement that is written under default class will be executed. The statements can be simple or compound statements. Compound statements enclosed in flower brackets. Constant expressions in case should be unique. The constant expression should be unique. Constant expression 1 cannot match again with the constant expression 2. They should be unique. The evaluation of the expression results in a value. The value is compared with constant expressions in the order specified. If there is a match, then corresponding statements are executed. There should be a break statement. This is an important point. There should be a break statement to come out of the switch statement once the corresponding statements are executed. If there is no break statement, then the remaining all statements in the subsequent cases are also executed. That means if you go back here, associated with every case after executing the statement 1, there will be break. Here there will be break. There will be break. So after this statement, there will be a break statement. If there is a break statement, then control will be transferred to outside the switch statement. If this break statement is missing, then the corresponding statements will be executed, and also statements associated with the remaining constant expressions will also be executed. That I will illustrate through a program, but that is tricky. That will not be mentioned in the books clearly. That will not be mentioned in the books. People will write this just this break statement, and they will say control will be transferred to outside the switch statement. But what happens if the break statement is missing, etc.? They will not be mentioned. We will see through an example. We will see through an example. What happened? Okay. So if the value of the expression doesn't match with any of the case constant expression, then the default class is executed if it is present. The default class can be present at any point in the switch statement, need not be at the end. This is another point which you have to note down. It will not be given even in many books. The default class can be present at any point in the switch statement. It need not be the last statement. If there is no default class and the expression doesn't matches with any of the constant expression, then control is transferred to outside the switch statement. That means the default class is not mandatory. The default class is not mandatory. This is another point which you should note down. This is an example. So scanf value. So if the value matches with 1, if it is 1, then the statement will be executed. If the value matches with 2, then the statement will be executed. If it is not 1 or 2, this statement will be executed. Okay. We have to read the value. If the value matches with, if the value matches or if the value is 1, then this statement will be executed and control will be transferred to outside the switch statement because there is break. Because there is break. Now if the break is missing, then this statement will also be executed. So switch to learning mode. Switch to learning mode. We will discuss an example. We will discuss an example. We will discuss an example. Where is Guinea? Let me just load it. Okay, we'll go here. We'll take simple example. Okay, printf read some value, enter value /n scanf %d say and of some value. So because we are using 8 value, you declare it. So switch the value. If the value matches with any of these cases, the printf 1 case 2 printf 2. So case 3, printf 3. Okay, we'll close here. First, we'll add break statements also. We'll add break statements also. Okay, let us try to execute it. Is it okay? Let us check. Build it. What happened? Okay. Execute. Now I will enter the value as 1. Now what happened? 1 is printed. I will execute again. I will check with 2, 3 also. So value 2 is printed. Fine. It is working properly. Execute again. 3 is printed. Okay. You give 3 is printed. Now you give other value. Say 4. 4 is not present in the cases. Now nothing is printed. Okay, so here the another point you have to notice, I have not included the default class. So default class is not mandatory. So we will add the default class now. Default printf other than 1, 2, 3. So now if we enter 4, you can see other than 1, 2, 3 is printed. You can enter 5 also or 10 also. Okay, say some 34. So other than 1, 2, 3. So if the value doesn't match with any of these constant expressions, then default class will be executed, but the default class is optional. Now the other case. Okay, suppose I remove the break, then what happens? I remove the break here. Let me check. Build it, execute it. So I give the value as 1. So automatically 1 will be printed. After that what happens? 1, 2 are printed. Why? Here there is no break. So 1 is printed. So after that, because there is no break, so 2 is also printed. Remember here the value is only 1, but still it's not compared with 2. Automatically the statements will be executed. So I will remove here. Then what happens? Let us check. But you always use break. In most of the cases that is the requirement, but in competitive exams you will get this type of questions. Otherwise, if you are doing the programming, then I always use break. So 1, 2 are printed. So we have not, I think we have not built it. That's why only 1, 2 are printed. Now let us check. 1. So you can see 1, 2, 3 other than 1, 2, 3 are printed. 1, 2, 3 other than 1, 2, 3 is also printed. That means match here. So 1 is printed. So there is no break. 2 is printed. 3 is printed. There is no break again. 1, 2, 3 is also printed. Now let us say give 2. What happens? That means it matches with 2. 2, 3 other than 1, 2, 3 are printed. That means because we are given 2, so this will not be executed. This will be skipped. So 2 is printed. There is no break. So 2, 3 other than 1, 2, 3 are printed. Other than 1, 2, 3 are printed. Okay. So that's how this switch statement works. So always use break while doing programming. Unless necessary, you always use break. Okay. But from the competitive exams point of view, you have to understand. Now the other ways, say here it is an expression which should result in a value. So you can write an expression like this, value plus 2. So now build it. So build, execute. So I will give 1. So if I give 1, value is 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So 3 should be printed. So you can see 3 is printed. 3 is printed. 3 is printed. So that's how it works. That's how this switch actually works. That's how the switch actually works. Let me write variable here. What happens? Let me check. So build. So error, case label does not reduce to an integer constant. So it should be an integer constant only. It should be an integer constant only. Now can I write say 1 plus 2? So these are all the things we have to experiment. Okay. This compilation failed again. Compilation failed again. Why? What is the error? Duplicate case value. That means 1 plus 2, 3 are matching. So you cannot use variables, but you can say 3 plus 2. I will write 3 plus 2. Build. So it is accepting. So constant integer expressions, it is accepting, but is not accepting the variables. Let us say a equal to some 1, a equal to 1, integer, let us declare integer a equal to 1, and let us write it here, whether it accepts or not. Constant integer expressions it is accepting. Compilation failed, it is not accepting. Case label does not reduce to an integer constant. So there should be an integer constant, but integer constant expressions it is accepting. So that point you note down. That point you note down. See, if you are preparing for GATE, if you are preparing for competitive examinations, you should have different orientation. So this classroom and the exam point of view, normal exam point of view, it's different. But if you want to prepare for the competitive exams, you should do it differently. You should do it differently. So different things require different orientation. Remember, orientation is very much important for the success in competitive exams. Orientation. You should start thinking. You should solve the problems which are similar to the questions which are appearing in the competitive examinations. The questions which appear in competitive examinations are quite different from the questions which appear in your normal examinations. Okay. You should orient yourself. So this is regarding the switch statement. This is regarding the switch statement. I think now even this NPTEL's FIAM platform, they are starting. They have started a recently. I think 10 days back. They have started a GATE website also. GATE related exam website. You can refer to it. Go to Google search, find the website, and then you can watch the websites, videos, etc. on the website. So again, I repeat, the orientation is different. Orientation is different. Okay, this is regarding the switch statement and also the control structures part. Control structures part.